Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Above podcast. And in this podcast I want to touch upon an issue of coming out, but in the very specific circumstances, namely coming out in heterosexual relationship. So let's go. The idea of addressing this topic arose some time ago, but I found it quite difficult to start recording because there are so many threads and issues interconnected, and that condensing it into 20 minutes or even 30 minutes is quite challenging. And therefore, even though I would like to touch on all aspects and nuances of this situation, as well as all potential causes and hypotheses, to avoid getting tangled up in my own narrative, I will only focus and only discuss those that were significant in this particular model situation. And to briefly summarize the situation that inspired this episode, the case was discussed in one of the supervision sessions I attended. And it was not a patient I knew directly or had met in person. However, the case was discussed quite thoroughly and somehow stuck in my mind. So I think it can serve as a model situation for what I want to talk about today. Specifically, a 38-year-old female patient from a fairly large city approached a therapist. She had been married for 7 years and had a 3-year-old son. And this woman was in a relatively good financial situation. She had a stable job, her husband also had stable employment, and generally they were well-educated, good functioning individuals without any previous issues. They also had a fairly positive assessment of their marriage because this woman actively spoke about the entire history of the marriage during the diagnostic and therapeutic process. However, she sought help from one of the therapists who also attended the session due to her husband's revelation during a conversation with her that he was gay. Well, her husband was the same age as her, so he was also 38 years old. And this was absolutely the very first time she had heard such information from him. It was completely unexpected for her, so unexpected that she sought help literally 2 days after receiving this information. And I would like to pause here for a moment to first say that due to this situation, I will use an example in which a man reveals his non-straight identity within a relationship. However, very similar mechanisms can also operate when a woman comes out as lesbian or bisexual or whatever. I'm choosing this example for convenience and because it makes it easier for me to illustrate our model situation. And this is a situation that, contrary to appearances, is not at all rare. Well, this is to say, while coming out with LGBTQ plus identity may not be an extremely common phenomenon in heterosexual relationships, it does happen quite frequently that individuals of various genders approach therapists or counselors because their partner has revealed that they are gay, or has fallen in love with someone of the same sex, or has came out as transgender, and so on and so forth. So I'm not talking about an extremely rare or nearly unheard of situation. In this specific example, we are dealing with a guy who has never sought out same-sex relationship before, has not dated other men, and generally one could say that he came out to himself quite late regarding his orientation. And this is radically different situation than one where, sticking to our convention, a guy knows he is gay from his teenage years or early adulthood, but engages in heterosexual relationships for various reasons. Social pressure, convenience, or a desire to avoid coming out to his surroundings, while being aware that women do not particularly attract him. But he wants to form relationships with men and fulfill his sexual needs through encounters with men on the side, often without his partner's knowledge, while maintaining appearances and functioning in relationship with a woman. This is fundamentally different from the situation I will discuss today. And if someone knows they are gay but deceives their girlfriend and uses her as a smoke screen to avoid experiencing hate or having to explain themselves, that is simply deceiving the other person. It's plain and simple. And this distinction highlights the complexity of sexual identity and the varied experiences individuals may have in navigating their orientations and relationships. And it emphasizes that not all individuals who engage in heterosexual relationships while having same-sex attractions are necessarily deceitful, while motivations can vary widely based on personal circumstances or societal pressures and so on. And the situation discussed in supervision was quite different. In this case, the first coming out occurred relatively late, almost at 40 years old. And the first question that arises in such a situation is, how is it possible if one cannot simply change their orientation? Because we know that we cannot change someone's orientation. We know that all the reparative therapies are bullshit because it's not possible. How is it that a person suddenly wakes up having a family and realizes that they are gay? So it's not entirely accurate to say that someone has suddenly changed their orientation. Of course, we do not know the perspective of this man. We only have secondhand information relayed by the patient, so the woman, and we must rely on that account. But her fundamental question was whether this is even possible. Well, it is possible. Well, human sexuality is not a construct that is fixed once and for all. When I refer to sexuality as a whole, I do not mean specifically sexual identity. Our sexuality is shaped throughout our lives. Our preferences change. We learn what brings us pleasure and what does not. And this can also evolve over time. So it may also happen that what we enjoy with one partner does not necessarily bring us pleasure with another partner. So these are very fluid matters, first due to our experiences, and second because our responses to stimuli change, our bodies change, and so on. And in the context of sexual identification or orientation itself, while in the vast majority of cases it does not change throughout life, there are situations where an individual unexpectedly meets someone of the same sex who completely charms them, and despite always identifying as heterosexual, they enter into a relationship with someone of the same sex. And that's it, full stop. And of course, one could debate whether there were any signals earlier, or whether it was a matter of repression and the fact that heterosexuality is more common and accepted, making it easier to function in heterosexual relationships. And, for every person, there are countless stories. And perhaps if we traced each story of an individual, we might find some element. Like, in elementary school, I was more attracted to boys. Or I liked watching porn movies where there was also a man and not just women. And so on, of course. This is possible. However, this does not change the fact that even if such elements can be found, these individuals may sincerely identify as heterosexual for at least part of their lives and do not think about pursuing sexual behaviors with someone of the same sex. They consider themselves heterosexual before themselves. They have plans related to family in a heterosexual format and absolutely do not seek any adventures with individuals of the same sex. But at some point in life, for various reasons, this self-image can become disrupted. And this discussion reflects the complexity of sexual identity development and how experiences can shape an individual's understanding of their own sexuality over time. And it highlights that coming out can be a multifaceted process influenced by personal experiences, societal expectations, and very, very individual circumstances. And returning to this woman, such a revelation from a person with whom we plan our future and share a significant past can, of course, be utterly shocking and leave one in disbelief, to put it mildly. In research and clinical practice, confronting such information is often compared to discovering that a partner has cheated or lost all their assets in a casino, leaving you with nothing. So it typically involves a mix of disbelief, frustration, and anger. And this is not usual information that the partner rushes to share the moment they think of it. The journey to revealing one's identity is often preceded by months or even years of self-discovery and exploration. And when this partner states that this is not a recent realization, but rather something that has been on their mind for some time, well, the question that frequently arises in therapy is, who was I during this time? Who was I all along? And this is a challenging moment for both partners in the relationship, and can also involve others if, for example, children are part of the equation. And the emotional turmoil experienced by both partners can lead to feelings of betrayal and confusion, and for the individual coming out, there may be guilt for having kept this part of themselves hidden for so long, while the other partner grapples with feelings of having been deceived. Well, the complexity of these situations is underscored by the fact that coming out can significantly impact not only the relationship, but also family dynamics, especially when children are involved. Also, the emotional fallout can lead to grief and heartbreak as both partners navigate their new realities. And the process requires careful communication and an understanding of each other's experiences and feelings as they adjust to this new phase in their lives. And research indicates that coming out is often a gradual process rather than a singular event, involving various stages of identity formation and self-acceptance. And this transition can be particularly difficult for individuals who have built their lives around a heterosexual identity, but find themselves needing to reconcile that with their true selves as they come to terms with their sexual identity. Well, the scenarios surrounding such situations can vary widely, making it quite difficult to universally describe the feelings that arise or the solutions that may be found. However, aside from the obvious shock, 3 common reactions or emotions are often reported during therapy. First, it is emotional and cognitive overload. So when individuals discover that their partner is gay, they often experience a significant emotional and cognitive overload. This is particularly true in a heterosexual relationship where such a revelation comes as a complete surprise, especially if there were no prior signs indicating this possibility. Well, the emotional burden includes the need to process this new reality and consider how to communicate it to family and friends. But while infidelity might be somewhat expected in close relationships, I mean, it's not very uncommon. I'm not saying that it should be accepted, but infidelity is somehow related to relationships. But the revelation of a gay identity within a heterosexual relationship is much less common and can feel avant-garde. So individuals must navigate in a new life situation, which may involve shared custody of children, potential changes of the apartment. Someone needs to move out, someone needs to move in, or finally even divorce. And anticipating these possible changes and the necessary conversations can be overwhelming and significantly impact one's functioning. The emotional turmoil can lead to feelings of betrayal as partners grapple with the realization that their understanding of the relationship has fundamentally changed, and this can provoke questions about their own identity within the relationship and lead to confusion about what their partner's revelation means for their future together. And finally, there's often a sense of grief associated with the loss of the future that one envisioned with their partner. And this includes mourning the relationship as it was understood before the revelation, which can be compounded by concerns about how to manage relationships with children and extended family. And in summary, navigating such revelations involves complex emotional responses that require time and support to process effectively. And each individual's experience will differ based on personal circumstances, but the overarching themes of shock, confusion, and emotional overload are common in this situation. In therapy, it often appears somewhat paradoxically that individuals may experience also a sense of relief after learning that their partner is gay. And this feeling typically arises in situations where the relationship has already been slowly deteriorating. Even if the relationship wasn't falling apart completely, partners might have been drifting apart. When one partner has been troubled by something for some time, but hasn't voiced it, the dynamics of the relationship shift, leading to an intuitive sense that something is amiss. In such cases of escalating tension, once the revelation occurs, there can be a surprising sense of relief following the initial shock. In therapy, a common question that arises is whether the individual did something to cause the situation or if they could have done something to prevent it. Well, this often pertains to the sexual aspect of the relationship. Questions like, was I not sexy enough? Did I not try hard enough? Was I not attractive enough? Such revelations can severely undermine one's self-confidence, not only personally, but also in a sexual context. However, the answer is always a resounding no. There is nothing you could have done differently. Even if you were to perform acrobatics in the bedroom, it would not change your partner's sexual orientation. So unfortunately, that's just not how it works. When it comes to therapy and the question that arises, it's essential to discuss how to cope and navigate this situation effectively. So the foundation of moving forward is an open conversation with your partner. This will be not easy, and both parties need to prepare for a dramatic situation. It's crucial to confront this issue. Ideally, approach it after taking some time to process your feelings. Perhaps take a walk or spend 20 minutes alone in a room to gather your thoughts. However, this conversation must happen because decisions about your future together need to be made. And it is important to remember that amidst our goal-oriented mindset, we often forget that we are human beings with emotions. So give yourself permission to experience the full range of feelings that will arise. So everything from longing for the lost relationship to compassion for your partner who is also in a difficult situation. You might feel anger towards the person who has disrupted your life, followed by renewed compassion and a desire to support them wholeheartedly. So it may also be beneficial to seek couples therapy. And I want to clarify here, though this will be discussed in another episode, I just need to make a quick mention that couples therapy does not always aim to reconcile the relationship. In this context, it serves as a method for navigating this new reality as painlessly as possible and restructuring your relationship with someone you may still share part of your life with for some time at least. And this could involve co-parenting, shared financial responsibilities like mortgages, and other intertwined aspects of life. The navigating such complex emotional terrain requires patience and understanding for both yourself and your partner. And the journey may be challenging, but with open communication and support, whether through therapy or personal reflection, you can find a way forward that honors both your needs and those of your partner as you redefine your relationship moving forward. And the last question we considered during supervision was whether such information, such a revelation, necessarily signifies the end of relationship, or whether it must mean the end of a relationship. And to be honest, I don't know. Every relationship is different, and the dynamics of relationships can vary greatly. And of course, there are relationships where partners do not share the same sexual identity. And the research shows that 1/3 of such couples remain together after the coming out, at least formally. But will this hold up in the long term? I don't know. Perhaps in the form of an open relationship where the partner fulfills their sexual needs both within and outside the marriage. Perhaps in a relationship when the partner identifies as gay but consciously decides not to pursue their sexual needs with other men. But will such relationship be good for both parties? Will it be satisfying? Will it be a source of growth for these partners? I have no idea. Genuinely, I have no idea. I cannot say yes or no because I do not know that. Well, that's it what I wanted to tell you today. Thank you for listening. Of course, if you like the episode, leave the thumb up. Or even though I have no idea how it works on YouTube or Spreaker or Apple Podcast. Sorry. But it's always nice when you like it. And until next time, bye bye.